Well, hello, everyone. Thank you, David. It's great to be with you. We're going to be looking at what I call trading in the eye of the storm. And we'll get into that in just a bit. What we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes. Uh, that's the intent behind this. And I hope you find something helpful. To give you some background on me, I come from a market maker point of view, from the floor, trading floors at the exchanges, and or in market makers at an institution. I started with the trading floors, and some of what we're going to talk about today is an outgrowth of that. There are things that I observed that I found helpful that I want to share with you. I'm comfortable with scalping, day trading, swing trading, position trading, stock futures, options, cash markets. I've had a chance to testify as an expert in U.S. federal court. I've set up stock and futures prop trading operations, and I've been a co-inventor of 3 issued security patents and also co-inventor of a currency ETF. And through a word of mouth network, I've had the opportunity, to my total amazement, to work with traders from over 36 different exchanges, 450 institutions in 35 countries. Up until COVID, I would typically travel around 200,000 miles a year. And I was primarily working with institutions because that's where my name was passed. It was by word of mouth. And once in a while, I would have a chance to present uh, at conferences in the United States, Europe, Australia. But the intent of what I want to show you today, and I should say that that gave me an opportunity to make observations on firms trading that some things are different, but a lot of things are the same. It's all human beings involved in this. And there are some commonalities that are there, no matter what market we're trading, no matter what country or what markets they're looking at. There are some elements that are the same. Oh, and I also offer a free daily video at Gramza.com. I'll tell you more about that later. But it's watched in over 150 countries, which truly amazes me. But let's get going. And let's talk about trading in the eye of the storm. Now, that title comes from what I want people to feel when they go through these concepts and ideas. It's a title of a book that I have been working on forever. It's almost embarrassing to mention that, but I have one more section and it's done. But this is something what I'm going to share with you. These are parts of what I have shared with institutional traders since the late 80s, actually. And it started in Sweden because what I noticed was the types of questions I was getting. And this is an outgrowth of those questions. So let's get started with high performance trading occurs in the eye of the storm. So, what is the storm? Well, it could be the markets. They could feel overwhelming, like what's going on with these things. It could be the trading process itself can be frustrating, could be. Or maybe it's other people, the environment that this person is in, or maybe it's us. That could be the storm. The objective for the trader is to stay in the eye of the storm, free from the distractions of the storm's movements. You see the reporter on TV and they're saying, well, I'm in the eye of the storm and the sun's shining, the birds are chirping. Now, when the storm goes through and the eye of the storm moves, that gets all wiped out. But at that moment, it's calm. And it's what we want to feel. We don't control the storm, but we do control how we react to it. So here's the idea. A trader must recognize and accept that trading is a physical business that requires a synergy of our thoughts and physical response in a relaxed yet totally aware state. I'm not saying that you and I do not have emotions, but I do think there's a time and place for both. And I should tell you that these ideas were things that I noticed on the floor, trading floor. And I've had a wonderful opportunity to learn and be taught by wonderful instructors, as well as teach a variety of different martial arts. So some of these principles come from that thought process that's used in the martial arts. You know, when we think about thoughts, it creates our reality. How we think determines the envelope of life that we live in. They also direct our body. If I think I can't do something, I can't. That's all it takes. I can't. And there's a couple of these elements when it comes to thoughts that I'd like us to look at today, and that's thought choice and thought energy. Now, thought choices, the thoughts that the trader allows himself to have or are his thought choices. I can think of probably a bunch of them. If somebody else says something to me and I accept that thought, well, I'm allowing that to happen. A trader makes a thought choice. Therefore, the trader is responsible for that thought choice. And that's a biggie. We'll talk more about that, but it's a biggie. Because if I'm responsible, then I can change it. These thought choices determine how he reacts to trading in life. We can choose a positive thought or a negative one, but whatever the choice, it will impact the thoughts that follow. If I start out with a positive thought, my following thoughts probably will be positive. If I start out with a negative one, I'm probably going to stay with those negative thoughts of what's happening and why is the market doing this to me, and I'll never get this, or whatever it may be. If we think about that, and we're going to talk about this a couple times, what's the payoff for keeping and maintaining a thought choice, positive or negative? What is it giving us? Because it's giving us something since I'm keeping it, since I'm maintaining it, since I'm using it. And it could be positive, it could be negative. Now let's talk about thought energy. Thought choices have an impact on our life. The amount of impact is determined by the amount of thought energy the trader gives each thought. I mean, you and I right now could probably take a moment and think about something in our life that was, let's say, sad. And if we think about it, it may even bring a tear to our eye. It's not the same point. It could have happened years ago, but we still feel that. It could be a happy moment too, with family or with friends. And whenever we think about that, it brings a smile to our face and it's a good feeling. Both of those have a lot of thought energy. That is what I believe keeps them where they are, our ability to recall them. We have a lot of other thoughts and experiences that we don't even remember. So let's talk about thoughts that hurt us, thoughts that hold us back. I call them thought demons. And thought demons are negative thoughts that hold you back and prevent you from accomplishing your life and trading goals. So, what are your first or typical thoughts when you're faced with challenges in your life? What's your first reaction? And how you react to these challenges is usually how you're going to react to the challenges of trading. In life or trading, do you choose and energize negative thoughts? Once I start down that path, it can be very difficult not to stop. And it also becomes a record that I play every time something happens that I think I don't like. What I'd like to talk to you about is what I call a negative thoughts demons journal. And it's a way as a tool to help us identify things that may be holding us back, these thought demons. The process here and the idea behind the book is not a book on psychology. I'm not a psychologist, but it's a book on techniques, on tools that you and I can use to help us identify thoughts that may be holding us back, how to manage those thoughts. We have some things on stress management and visualization techniques and a variety of other things, but there's a lot I want to focus on today. But one of those places to begin is identifying thoughts that may be holding us back. We may not even realize it actually. So examine your thought choices. Identify your negative thought demons. Increase your awareness of these thoughts. And we're going to look at some techniques that can help us do that. So if we want to examine how we think, we want to break it down. And this is one of the, or some of the tools that we could use to do that. So now develop a specific target for your energy and efforts to make a change. All right, so if I've identified these thoughts that maybe aren't helping me, then how do I change them? And we're going to have some techniques that we can look at. But here's some more questions I want you to think about to help us find those thought demons. When and what was happening before you had that negative thought? Is there a lead up to that negative thought that you want to be aware of? So when you start the lead up, that may be a time to stop because you know where it's going. Where were those negative thoughts? And these are ideas, they're like worksheets. You want to write these ideas down. Don't just think about them, but write them down. What type of inward or outward reaction did you have from these negative thoughts? How did it make you feel? What was going on? What reaction did it elicit from you? How did you feel when you had these negative thoughts? What are these negative thoughts taking away from you? So if you and I are classifying this thought as negative, well, it's probably keeping us from doing something. It's taking away something that we want. It's limiting our ability to reach what we want. And that's why we're classifying it as negative. So what does it take away from us when we have these negative thoughts? How are these negative thoughts holding you back? What payoff do you get from keeping these negative thoughts? If we know this thought isn't helping us, then why would we keep the record playing? Why would we allow it to go up again and again? It maybe it makes me not have to think about the things I don't want to think about. Maybe it makes me feel powerful if my negative thought is anger. I get angry when that happens. So it gives me an excuse to keep other people away from me, possibly. And it gives me a way to justify what I'm feeling. Is that my payoff? So there's something there that we get to keep that negative thought. And it could be, we just don't know what the alternative could be. But here's some big points, I think. Do you accept that you created this negative thought? And if not, why not? I mean, where did it come from? And again, if it's somebody said, Dan, you're a dodo. And if I think, yeah, I'm a dodo, well, that becomes part of my script, doesn't it? I accepted that and I'm responsible for it. So, which thought management technique? Now, we haven't gone through those yet. From the following section are you going to use to help you de-energize this negative thought and reach your ideal thought reaction? And we're going to go through, there's a ton of them that you can look at, but I thought we could go through a few of them today. I wanted you to have something very specific that you could use that you hopefully find helpful. So when are you going to implement that? So if we take one of these tools that we're going to talk about next, then when will you do it? And how will you do it? Right? So it's one thing to read about it and say, yeah, I probably should look at that. We got to put it into action. And that's really what we're talking about here. Thought management techniques are used to conquer your thought demons. These are tools that may just click for us. That's why I wanted to go through a few of them with you, because maybe out of these few, there may be one in here that you go, you know, something that would work for me. So we're trying to, after we've identified these negative thoughts, we're trying to come up with a way, a method, a tool to help manage that. And that's what we're looking at next. So when a problem arises, consultants are used to provide an objective approach to finding a solution. So I call this the consultant technique. Here's the deal. Have you ever been in one of those situations where maybe it's friends having an issue or a problem and you're talking to them about it and just as clear as day, you go, you know something? Here's the deal. This is happening, that's happening, and that's why this is happening to you. You might want to consider doing this, this, and this. And actually, that's probably some good advice you're giving them. Well, one, you're not connected to that situation directly, possibly, but it gives you that objective approach. That's what you're doing. When I look at this logically, when I look at this as an outsider, this is what I see going on. So you're acting as a consultant. So, and that's what you want to imagine. Imagine you're a consultant and you've been retained to provide consulting services to a person with a situation exactly like yours. What questions would you ask? How would you try to analyze what's going on? And again, it's a situation you're trying to sort out, but think of yourself as a consultant. The key to being a good consultant is asking the right questions. So objectively, review the questions found in the negative thoughts journal that we just went through as if you were questioning another person as a consultant. I got to tell you, you may be very surprised with the good information that you come up with. And what's good about that, what's powerful about that, if you do, well, you have ownership of that change. It means your probability of implementing it goes up because you're buying into it in that sense. You've seen the situation, you've come up with a solution, and now your ability to implement that solution is probably fairly high. So an objective review of the responses may provide the point of view needed to implement these positive solutions. And, Einstein said you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. Well, it's the same person since you're acting as a consultant to yourself, but your mind point of view is going to be different. And that's where the change can occur. A stop sign technique. This is another method of de-energizing a negative thought, and it's challenging it head on with the placement of a mental stop sign. As you sense a negative thought beginning, you de-energize it by immediately and firming, telling yourself to stop that negative thought and let it go. Then redirect your thoughts to ideas and feelings that you want. If you don't want this, well, then you probably want something else. And it's a good time to put the something else in there because it retrains your mind and your thought process. So you know that these negative thoughts will not be productive. That's why you're considering them negative thoughts. And you're taking control. Instead of allowing yourself to be controlled by your negative thought, you're now taking control. The negative thought may creep back in, but remember, you have determined that this thought is not productive. So stop it. Remember, replace it with what you want. Don't give it energy to let it back in your life. It's not productive. It's not serving you well. As I say here, it's a very powerful and simple technique. And some people are really good at that visualization. They sense because they identified earlier a lead up to that negative thought. When these things happen, I have a tendency to, okay. So when those things are happening, they're saying, okay, hold on, stop that right now. What I really want is this, and they replace it. So it stops our mind from giving it energy to making it a part of our life. Like I said, some people are really good at this one. This next one, a situation control, I got to tell you, for you and me as a trader, it's critical. This technique allows you to control your negative thoughts by recognizing those situations you control and those you do not. You begin to have negative thoughts relating to a situation which you have no control. You can consciously recognize that you've done all you can, and now it's up to the situation to complete itself. You choose not to energize the negative thoughts or allow them to overwhelm you. The situation is not under your control, and you are not going to waste your energy on unproductive thoughts. Do you see where this one's going? I bet you do. So, for example, you have identified a trade. You executed your order to enter the trade, and you placed your risk management and profit stop orders according to your strategy. You're done. You're done. Do you need to watch this market? No. You then allow yourself, or some people allow themselves to become more and more emotionally involved with each back and forth market movement. It's 5 ticks in my favor. Oh, it's down 20 cents. Oh no, it's coming back. Yeah, I thought it would come back. It's exhausting. And a lot of times that person says, you know something, I don't care anymore. Just get me out. I'll look at it another time. I want out. That's usually when the trade works, though. And they go, doggone it, I knew I had the right idea. I just couldn't. Well, they're interfering with their trading strategy. The reality is that the market is in control. And I know you know that. And you have no control over the market. I deal with some very large organizations that may impact a tick or two or a penny or two, maybe, but they don't control the market. Central banks, people deal in the currencies. Central banks control everything, or hedge funds control everything. And central banks are another trader with a lot of money. That's all. I, I've dealt with some central banks with classes, and they deal with the same things that you and I deal with. It's just bigger numbers, that's all. And there are some consequences to what they do. Recognize this, relax, and let your trade work. I got to tell you a quickie story, and it's about Bob. This is when I taught classes for floor traders at New York exchanges, Chicago exchanges, and in Singapore and other countries. But anyways, this fellow was at the Board of Trade, and he was a broker in soybeans. Uh, his name's Bob, real nice guy. But Bob, and he was taking this class I was teaching at the Board of Trade. Anyways, I'm setting the computer up. Bob comes in. Hey, Bob, how's it going? He said, Dan, I have a serious problem. I said, really? Now, here's some background. Bob is a broker on the floor in beans, very successful, very good broker. So that means he's executing orders for other people that send orders in to soybeans. Well, he's been doing it for 20 some years. His knees were killing him and he wanted to get off the floor. And with technology that we have, you no longer need to be on the floor. Anyways, he was trying to come up with the day trading strategy. And he had Eddie, his clerk, because he's in the pit. Bob is in the pit. He would have Eddie bring in a chart. And he would look at the chart and he'd say, okay, Eddie, go out and do so and so. He didn't executing, Bob didn't execute his orders. He had Eddie go out, and it may be in a different market, anyways, to execute the order. So that's the setup. So, anyways, Bob says, I got a serious problem. I said, what's the problem? He said, I had a series of losing trades and I just wanted a profitable trade. I get that, right? That mentally just to have a profitable trade. He said, the problem is I can't stop. So, in other words, what he's doing is he puts on a trade for a particular strategy. It now moves a teeny bit in his favor. He immediately takes profit because he just doesn't want to feel a loss. I get that. But, well, let me ask you this. What would you say to Bob? What do you think? And if Bob came to you with this, what would you say? Well, I'll tell you what I said. I said, Bob, I'd like you to do something for me. And I'd like you to go back and look at trades that you have done that you would say that was a good trade. It met your criteria, you executed the trade, and it gave you whatever that profit was that you're looking for. So the technique he's using, none of that matters. All I'm asking him for is how long does it take if he does this day trade in this market that's an acceptable trade? Well, about 3 weeks later, I'm back at the exchange Bob comes in and he had a little container of this Amish peanut, peanut, but no, not butter, peanut brickle. What the heck do you call it? It's a candy. Anyways, he got it at a farmer's market not too far from the exchange. And he said, Dan, here you go. And I said, well, what's going on? And he said, I did what you said. I went back and looked at it. It takes 45 minutes to an hour for a profitable trade. And I didn't tell you what I had asked him to do previous to that is once he's identified that, put a stop in for risk and put his profit objective in and tell Eddie not to come back into the pit with the chart for 45 minutes. Because does he need to look at that? No. He's got the risk, he's got the profit objective, and at the end of 45 minutes or an hour, he's going to have a result. And the result is a profit or a loss. And if the loss is within his parameters, so what? He's going to have losses. He knows that. That's not a big deal. But did he allow the trade to work? And the reason he gave me that peanut brittle, that's the stuff. He because it was working. And a few months later, he did leave, and he lives on a lake, and he trades from home. But what was it? Was it his technique? No, it wasn't his technique. Was it the market going against? No, it wasn't the market. It was him. He was in the way of his trade. He just didn't let it mature. He didn't give it time. So part of that research that you and I should know about a trading strategy is how long does it take for that strategy to work? Whether you're talking about day trading, swing trading, position trading, it doesn't matter. And what happens is you either make money or lose money. And what you do control is how you react to the outcome. So let's talk about some positive thoughts. And these are just as critical as de-energizing negative thoughts, how we frame what we think. And some of these, may resonate. Positive practices are patterns of thoughts and actions that set a positive tone and enable you to stay focused, stay positive, and enjoy your trading business. And that's what it should be. So here's some positive thoughts and practices to consider. One, value and respect ourselves as a person and as a trader. Your trading record does not determine whether we're a good person or a bad person. Our beliefs and how we treat other people, that determines whether we're a good or bad person. What we don't want to do is we don't want to mix our self-worth with our net worth or with our trading business. They're two entirely things. And sometimes people let them invade each other in that regard. Be aware of our thought habits and self-talk. What is your first reaction when a challenging situation arises? Is it negative, angry, complaining, fearful, or defeatist? If so, practice techniques to de-energize those negative thoughts, like you and I talked about, and acquire and energize the ones that you want, those positive ones. Take a few minutes during the day to write down your thoughts. Are they positive or negative? Place a sign next to the positive, a plus sign next to the positive ones, and a negative sign next to the negative thoughts. After doing this for a few days, look at the total number of plus signs and minus signs. Which one's higher? If it's the negative thoughts, think about why you made those negative thoughts. Were they justified or just a continuation of an immediate negative thought reaction? When you find yourself starting to react with a negative thought, Immediately think about the positives in the situation. Take action every day on something you have been putting off or hesitant to do. Direct your attention to accomplishing the task and not on restrictive excuses. Challenge often proves to be opportunities in disguise, and that concept pervades a lot of Asian thinking and practices. By meeting the challenge, your focus and confidence will improve, and as will your preparedness to take on life and trading. Keep situations you're faced with in life and trading in perspective. I mean, really, what's the worst that can happen to a trader? Well, it may be losing money. And this possibility is minimized by following your trading strategy and risk management strategy and being prepared for all outcomes before a trade is initiated. It's doing that research, knowing the answers. What's my profit expectation? How much risk do I have to take? What risk is acceptable to me that I'm comfortable with? What risk is acceptable to my account? How much can it handle? And what risk is required by the market and trading strategy? And if those pieces don't match up, not good. If somebody says my trading strategy risk is $1,500 on this trade, but the trader says, yeah, I don't want to risk 50. I can risk 500. I could risk 500. I don't mind 500. What's going to happen? Are they following the strategy? No, that was 1,500. So they do the trade at 500. What happens? And I know you know where this is going. They get stopped out because they didn't risk the proper amount of money. And then it goes in their favor. And then they say, geez, these stops don't work. They always get me. So did they follow the requirements of their trading strategy? You want to be prepared and allow yourself to stay cool, calm, and centered. That is how it should feel. Let your trades teach you. I got to tell you something. Some of my profitable strategies, most profitable strategies, came out of my losses. Look at your losses. One, did you follow your strategy? If you did, pat yourself on the back. Good job. You followed your strategy. Two, was there something unique about your losses that may be helpful? I remember one time looking at my P&L, my profit and loss statements the next morning, and I thought to myself, gosh, if I would have done the opposite of what I did, I could have had a really good day. It says a lot. So take advantage of that. As a trader, you will have losses. Tell me a business that you and I can get into. Put trading aside, any business that you and I can get into and never have a loss. Maybe you and I own a restaurant together and we put an item on the menu that we think should be a winner. Nobody orders it. Or if somebody orders it, they're always sending it back. Well, that was a loser. Okay. Do we keep it? No, we probably cut our losses, take it off the menu. Is that dramatic? Is it terrible? No, we're going to have some of those. Any business is going to have some decisions that are not profitable, and trading is no different. The issue is whether or not you have a loss, but how you emotionally handle it when it occurs. If I've already laid out the risk that I have to take and I have a loss, okay. Is it a shock? No, I'm going to have some of those. But I do know over time, I will make money. So don't let your losing trades distract you. Learn from them and then let them go. Focus on your trading goals. Visualize yourself progressing towards these goals and being prepared for any eventuality. So when you put a trade on, whether the market goes in your favor or goes against you, you're ready for it. Remind yourself that it's your choice how you will think about and react to situations in your life. Concentrate on the controllable things in your life. Life is too short to waste energy on useless negative thoughts or on things that we do not control. We both deserve more. Remember, the choices you make now, this moment, and each moment to follow, create the pattern of your life. You and I are the authors of our life story. Allow yourself to enjoy life in the here and now. Live in the present moment and celebrate every day. Take time every day to absorb and be grateful for the good things and moments in our lives. And we both have them. If what you're doing now is not working, things will not get better until you change. And we want to remember it's always within our power to change. Now, let's talk about physical response. I call it effortless action. An effortless action is a confident physical response without hesitation. In the martial arts, you may see things that people do that seem amazing, but they have done things thousands of times. It's been repeated so many times that you no longer have to think about it. And you don't have to practice martial arts to understand that feeling. The trader's goal is to achieve effortless action when trading. In other words, that's a trade. It's clean. Execute the order, profit management, risk management, manage the trade, manage profit and loss, manage myself. That's what we do in the trading process. When they trade with effortless action, they stand aside and allow their trading strategy to work. You and I don't want to do what Bob was doing. So examples of effortless action that you experience, you already know what that feels like. Tying your shoe. I mean, it's complicated when you think about what your little fingers do when they boom, and then there's your shoes tied. You you and I could talk to each other and you could tie your shoe because we've done it so many times. Combing our hair. Well, I'm kind of bald, so it doesn't take me very long, but combing our hair, we don't think about that. Raising a fork, a spoon, or a cup to our mouth, you're hitting a physical target. One right at, unless we have, unfortunately, a physical problem, we're hitting that target every time. Or driving a car. I mean, geez, that's dangerous as all get out. But we feel we can handle the risk. So is it stressful when you drive a car? Hopefully not. First time, first time I was in my alley behind my house and my father was with me and they ran over our neighbor's garbage can. It wasn't good. So stressful? Yeah, that was stressful. But I got beyond that, right? There's a comfort that you and I feel. So the bottom line, when you and I trade and we execute a properly evaluated trade, should feel the same way. It shouldn't be stressful. If I feel a tremendous amount of stress when it comes to put on a trade, then there's something causing that. Maybe it's too big. I shouldn't be trading that size. Maybe I'm not really sure. And it doesn't really fit my trading strategy, but I haven't done anything and I feel like doing something. Our business is not to trade. Our business is to make profits. Well, Effortless action. It's the result of taking time to practice a strategy through properly conducted research. You need answers to how much profit can I expect? How much risk do I have to sit through to get that profit? How long does it typically take? What's the maturity cycle of our trade? How often will this trade occur? Once a day, 5 times a month? Do you know those answers? Having complete confidence in our strategy, those answers give me confidence. So now it's mechanical. All you and I have to do is do what we've researched. Total focus on implementing the trading strategy when trading and not on issues that should have been resolved during non-trading hours. We both know the worst time to figure out how much risk you're going to take is when you have a loss. Isn't it? It's, I don't know if you've gone through that experience, but our brains can justify every reason to stay in the trade that's failing. Well, it may come back. Usually comes back. Oh, at this level, it's probably going to bounce. Yeah, at this level, it should bounce. Or, well, the next level, I'm really confident it'll bounce. Right? So it's we want those decisions beforehand. Do we have a loss? Great. Was it our strategy? Excellent. Let's go to the next trade. Why carry the baggage to the next trade? Choose and energize thoughts that support your trading objectives. Create and maintain a relaxed state. Stay in the present moment. Proper breathing, relaxation exercises, visualization exercises. I have a number of those that I go through in the book. I'm not trying to push the book. It's just those are tools and techniques that you and I should be aware of. And actually, when I'm looking at this, there's uh, something that I think of when I think about these issues. And there are two groups that come to mind. One are the Spartan warriors in Greece. Two, the ninja, or not ninja, the samurai warriors in Japan. Different parts, different cultures, different time frames, but they had two common beliefs. The first one was to eliminate the fear of death. Now, for a warrior going into battle and not being afraid, to be totally committed to this present moment. So now that person just happens to be in the way of your implement. You're not focused on getting hurt or geez, there's that guy again and he's bad. He's once we start thinking that way, we're dead. And you hear about these amazing stories that they in battle, how many people that they overcame. So eliminating the fear of death, that was one of them. For you and I think it's doing proper research on a trading strategy. But the other element that they had in common was staying in the present moment. It's a big deal because it's the only moment that counts, especially if we're going into battle. What happened yesterday? Irrelevant. What happens tomorrow? I don't know, don't care. I got to get through this moment. So being in the present moment is essential. And I think sometimes you and I experience moments like that. Like an example would be if there's a dish, let's do food. If there's a particular dish that you absolutely love and it's now been served in front of you, all your senses get engaged. You see it, You smell it. There's a texture to it. You may even be touching it depending on what the food is. But when it goes in your mouth, oh my gosh, everything lights up. It's fantastic. You really enjoy that mouthful as you're chewing it. That is the present moment. Unfortunately, we have a tendency to eat mechanically. I have a little bit of that. I have a little of this. Yeah, I am enjoying it, but it's not the present moment. So it's something you and I want to be sensitive to. You want to experience it and realize it because it comes into play when it comes to trading. Yesterday's action, irrelevant. All that matters is right now, and right now is the present moment. It's the only time you and I have impact. Breathing, I'm not suggesting that you go in a corner for 20 minutes in the middle of a trade and relax. What I am suggesting is that you do relaxation techniques, you do proper breathing so that after a while, it's your normal. Breathing is really from your stomach. If you ever watch a little baby, their little tummy goes in and out when they breathe. As we breathe with our stomach, if we extend our stomach, we pull down our diaphragm below our lungs. We get more oxygen into our lungs. We get more oxygen into our blood. We get more oxygen to our brain. So breathe with your stomach. Relaxation techniques. I'll tell you what, there's about 40 we can go through, but let's go through 478. This is one that it was started in yoga, actually in India. There's modifications of it, but here's the bottom line. It's real easy. Breathe in through your nose for the count of 4. Hold it for a count of 7. Breathe out for a count of 8. 4, 7, 8. Do it 4 times and then stop. And every day, you and I got time to do 4 breaths. Maybe do it in the morning or do it when you're waiting for something. It's amazingly powerful. Another one you can do is a visualization technique. Imagine that you're in the most peaceful place in the world that you can think of. Maybe it's walking on a beach. Yeah, let's do that. Walking on a beach. You feel the sand on your feet. You feel the breeze on your face. You smell the salt water from the ocean and maybe flowers that are blooming. You hear the sounds around you. And as you're walking, you're just feeling relaxed. That moment you want to soak in. Let your mind absorb that. What does that feel like? So when you say relax, that is the feeling you want. And you can do this with trading as well. Again, develop and consistently apply a well-searched trading strategy. Be prepared for all trading outcomes. It doesn't matter what the market does as long as you and I have the proper risk and profit management in play. This is my website. And what I want to talk to you about here, though, is this free video I do every day. And on the free video, you'll see red and green lines. And the green line represents a buy level, red line represents a sell level. These are not buy and sell recommendations, but I'm just showing you how I would approach a market. And you can go back 10 years or more, actually. And if every time the market's been open, you'll see a video. If you've never traded futures, one place to start is just watch these doggone things. And that may be a tool. I look at 22 different markets. And so stock indexes, currencies, interest rate, metals, energy, ags. The point behind that is just so you can see how they unfold, how someone's approaching them. And that's the idea. So Where you want to start is where it says start here. You click on that, you'll see me, and I go through a video on how to use those videos. Behind me is a trading floor, by the way. To the right, where you see those screens, that was options on treasuries. So you go back here, then you go to free videos, learn more, click on that, get started, click on that, and then you say free registration. It asks for some basic information. What you can get is you can get um, an email every day, although I'm having trouble with it right now, but you can get an email every day that just says the video is available, it's uploaded. I'll load the video between 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 7 in the morning Central Time. I may be in another time zone. So that's why you may see a video coming in at 4 in the morning here in the States. So that is a resource you may want to check out. Hopefully it'll give you some ideas as you approach the markets. And I do hope today gave you some thoughts and ideas that you find helpful. I wish you the most success in your trading. And David, thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed being with everyone, and I hope everyone found it helpful.